Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. The show will begin momentarily.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, hello, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky, the Dragonchain update show. Should be a pretty quick show today. I think this is episode Ebony 2, 0xe2, the 227th consecutive weekly episode. Reminder, nothing on the show is financial advice, and stay tuned after the updates for an AMA. This week for Dragonchain updates, we have the Super Happy Dragon Lucky distribution of governance lot for last week, which created 458 total lot. There was one question for 229 lot rewarded. There were no featured posts. The host received 114 lot, and Dragonchain received 115 lot. So congrats on that. Next, we move to Den.Social updates. So the December 2023 layer creation process, LCP proposal phase, started this past Tuesday. It will run for 1 week. Make sure your layer proposal is not too much of a duplicate if possible. All proposals should be entered by next Monday, December 11. And the commitment phase, the most fun part of all of it, will start next Tuesday, December 12 at 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight and 1500 UTC. So make sure you're ready for that with your lore ready to go. Also, Coffee with Den is still on hold. So we'll hear back from Dave hopefully soon that he'll be ready to do it again. And on DenDAO updates, there is no DenDAO this week. Apologies for last week. I felt really bad. I was pretty tired, but essentially I Am For I Am was on, and we basically conducted the show, answered some questions, did some pretty effective stuff, and then realized that we were not live. So we turned it on late, and we went through maybe a 10 or 15 minute quick recap of what we had talked about. So apologies for that. And if any of those subjects are important to you, make sure you let us know. We can go over them again. I think we covered it pretty well. It's probably a much more concise summary and probably a better show. So maybe we should just film everything without recording it first and then go back through and recap. That's probably a good way to do stuff, maybe. I don't know. Next, we move to the World Blockchain Roundtable update. And in case you missed it, last week's episode was using blockchain to ensure election integrity. Make sure you go watch and share it. For the show's metrics and the generation of lot, of course, but also because there was a lot of good info in there. We had a special guest on that has been researching a lot of those issues, and we go over a lot of what can be done, what should be done, and what isn't being done, and why some of those things are. So it's worth watching, I do think. And episode 133 airs today in a little less than an hour at 1100 Eastern Daylight and 1600 UTC. The topic is merging AI and blockchains. Leave a blockchain-related question or subject to discuss, and make sure you vote on the questions or replies or comments or subjects that are already that have already replied to the post, so that they can be sorted well when we go over them on the show. So that's all the updates. Make sure that while you are here, just like, comment, subscribe, and share this show, please. And we're going to go straight to an AMA. So we refresh to make sure that we um, have the latest. Okay. So I think, yeah. So, all right. So the first question we have is from I am for I am. Thank you again for the question. And by the way, this is a really good question, in my opinion. So, what is society's greatest need in the social media arena? Um, and I'm not talking about quote need as in keeping users glued to the here. I'm gonna move this down a little bit. Sorry, keeping users glued to the screen, keeping people doing stuff on the site so that they can sell ads, things like that, right? Um, although algorithms like TikTok does that successfully, I'm referring to what do other social media sites do that Den does or doesn't do. Some might argue that social media needs more wholesome entertainment or less censorship, or use of social media should unite us rather than divide us. What problem does Den solve? How has this problem changed since Den's inception? So, a bunch of questions, but it's really one thing. Essentially, you can answer this a lot of ways. There are so many problems in social media and culture at large, I guess. Uh, I would say censorship is a huge one, mostly because it's so prevalent and it's so controlled. Everything out there is artificial. Everything out there is contrived. Even Twitter after Elon, there's so much in there, though the facade is definitely, well, I think probably going the right direction. Um, and it has definitely improved. So I don't want to say, oh, it's still horrible. It's definitely improved from when Jack ran things. And whether or not it was Jack, I don't know. I used to pin a lot of the blame on him for what we were seeing, but it probably was the board and or other things going on behind the scenes while he was out growing his beard. Um, because there was obviously a lot that changed when they got rid of some of those people. But then then you bring in a WEF person, and who knows why? A lot of people will be apologists for some of those actions, saying, "Well, just give him a chance. He's doing this because he was forced to." I'm like, if he's forced to, then what does he actually control? I mean, it's kind of concerning because some of the people that are still banned shouldn't be banned, and whatever. Censorship is a big one. It's definitely better than Reddit, right? You look at Reddit for things you shouldn't want to do, including the culture and the community and how things are treated there. There are similar things with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and a lot of the other platforms, some of which I'm not on at all. And then you look at 4chan, and if you went to the extreme of, and I say the extreme of non-censorship, but 4chan itself is highly censored, and it's a really weird beast. I don't even completely understand how some of the stuff works in terms of entire subjects. You might be reading through something that is particularly interesting information because it's stuff you haven't seen. It might be about the banks or about how stuff works in the world, and you could be in the middle of reading a thread and boom, it's gone, right? And I'm viewing it on an app typically on mobile, which is not the way you're supposed to do stuff. But it's interesting because things do get deleted and censored even on 4chan, and it isn't, and at the same time, uh, there is a lot of nonsense, a lot of BS, and obviously a lot of really bad. You have to be careful if if you're browsing 4chan. You have to be careful what you click on. You have to be careful what you're looking at, and but it's still interesting. And so what does social media? I think social media needs a little more organic integrity. That I would say going back to the way the internet used to be, where yeah, you might see some bad things, but That was helped back in the day because it took a long time to load any images that were bad things. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should make instead of blurring something out, we just make it load like it would in 1994, right? It'd be like a slow progressive scan of the image. Anyway, I think Den has answered a lot of those questions, and it has answered, I think, some of the most important ones, like say even the way that a community organizes, or that the way that uh, a subject matter, a topic based community um, communicates. That they we've demonstrated that it hasn't been toxic. Uh, Largely, there's been very few things that have been toxic at all. There has been drama, but even the drama wasn't necessarily toxic most of the time. There were a couple of people, of course, but they tend to get drowned out by the and it's an algorithm, but I wouldn't call it an algorithm. It is by the consensus, by the market. It's everything on Den except for the chat is a prediction market, and so it tends to kind of take care of itself that way. We've seen that it happened. That was just a byproduct. The goal was to try to bring the most appropriate, proper content up, thinking, okay, good content, bad content. But when you think about it, a lot of that question ends up solving the issue with toxic content versus content that's actually, rational and useful. And, different communities obviously are going to, bring in a different group of people, but that's the beauty. Their culture will be mirrored with that algorithm. That if it is a community that, maybe there's a community out there, and I definitely could see this happening, a community out there that values that wants more of a toxic or more fighting, which sometimes you get to a better answer by fighting hard in a community. So there obviously would be cases where some communities would value that, and that layer would end up being more toxic, or at least more dramatic, uh, more willing to fight over some subject, right? Maybe we should try to find what those communities are and experiment with that. But either way, I do think that we don't need, in my opinion, AI for this. In fact, in my opinion, that's probably dangerous, not in a way that like Elon Musk would think of it being dangerous, but dangerous in terms of losing sight of who's making decisions. On Facebook, you don't know if it's some freaking 20 something some person in an ivory tower in San Francisco deciding that your post shouldn't be seen, and you don't know if it's AI. Largely, I think that Facebook, and this is based upon information in public, so not nothing inside, but that Facebook was using AI pretty early, whereas Twitter was more using uh, kids in ivory towers in San Francisco, right? So it's an interesting thing, and we need less of that crap. Less, in fact, we need less ads. You look at the freaking internet; the internet's broken. We need less ads. We need to solve that question, and it's so funny to me that all the solutions are just more efficient ways to serve ads. It's like, oh my gosh, we need to put money in on this startup. They can serve ads more efficiently. It's the most absurd thing in the world that and it's like it's a base level thing. If you ask me, it's bottom feeder mentality, that you have ads being the focus of your entire uh, uh, monetization strategy. You're talking about information. How valuable is information? Oh, ads. So it's stupid. And so I guess that's a big issue. Politics isn't an issue. Any of the antis aren't issues. In my opinion, that communication should be out there. People should be able to freely exchange ideas. And guess what? The people that are hateful, the people that are, doing things that are, that most of us think are bad, are going to get, people are going to see that, and people are going to make a decision. And guess what? Most people will make the right decision when they see somebody who's a liar or a cheat, or calling for people to be killed or any of that type of stuff. So I think in the end, just let them talk. So censorship is obviously a huge one. Um, Infrastructure things you could go into, streaming should be cheaper by now than it is, but strangleholds are there. Um, some of the ways that hosting, it should be more decentralized in order to protect freedoms, because you can't trust a government, you can't trust a constitution, you can't trust other human beings to give a shit about what you want to say, because plenty of them will not want you to say it, and they would rather uh, use their high power to essentially lock you out than come and make an argument against you, right? Which is the way it should be. Meaning, and it's the funniest thing in the world, it's the world upside down. The people who are in power are the ones who cannot argue for their points. And you think how bad that is, that means all of social media is corrupt, most of it at least. And good luck. Just find what you can. And everything's going to collapse soon. So we'll see how it all turns out. Hopefully, collapse for the better. That's what I always say. I think we'll have a better world after the collapse. So just live through it. Okay, so that's all of the AMA. I think that's the only question, right? Hopefully that's a good enough answer. I guess I want to say one more thing. Anything changed since Den's inception? Fundamentally, I don't think so. There are obviously some things we've identified, like the toxic, as a byproduct, that the toxicity is lower, things like that. But I think there might be something valuable, especially in terms of adoption, especially in terms of what I see as a demonstratable, real value that is important to the world. Something that I think people not only could understand, but that they would essentially come into Den because we're the only ones that have done something like this. And that is a very simple, very usable interface. And yeah, it could be improved for sure. And there are definitely some features we want to add for governance of a community that I think there might be a market to white label that. We've talked about it in DinDAO, we've talked about it in a couple other places, but it could be something where a community could come in, have their own app if it makes sense, have it private if it makes sense. We can already do that, and where they could have actual governance, right? And we've demonstrated you can do it with NFTs, external NFTs. Obviously you can do it with lot everywhere. So there are some things there that you could say the purpose or the problem that Den solves. Maybe it's expanded, right? Anyway, okay. So no featured content post today. And in closing, make sure you go and you get some Dragonchain and Den merch. I found this after the move. This had been lost for months, maybe a year. So go get some Dragonchain merch. At some point, you won't be able to get what we have up there. We'll change it all out. You won't ever be able to get it again. I think this one right here was banned, right? So you can't get this anymore. It's gone. Let's see, and I can't even focus on it. Even the camera is censoring this one. So one way or another, they banned it from us. We haven't had time. I mean, theoretically, you'd think we would find somebody else to print our stuff if they won't print it, but I don't think anybody would. State of the world. And make sure you go similarly, if you have money, go to legalfund.dragonchain.com. Give what you can. If you have some spare Doge, spare Monero, Cardano, some Litecoin, give us some Litecoin. Our lawyers will accept these forms, and we do have a bill, and we're working with the lawyers to make sure we can do what we can to pay, and we'd really appreciate it. I'd like to have some, but I know the lawyers will tell me can't. State of the world again. It'd be nice, wouldn't it, if I could say, hey, we will be eternally grateful, because we will. I can say that, but it'd be nice if I could give you something if you did this. And so maybe someday that'll be possible, that you could give us money that we could use for a legal fund, and you can get something in return. I don't know. I don't even know what's possible, but I know the lawyers know, oh, don't do that, it's dangerous, whatever. So anyway, we'll do what we can. Make sure you watch us next week. Super Happy Dragon Lucky, same time. And make sure you watch us again in about it's like 39 minutes, I think. So 11 o'clock Eastern, 1600 UTC. Make sure you follow us everywhere. Dragonchain, Real Denizens, and Jojo Row on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Den.Social, of course. That's it. Thanks so much. See you next week.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. Adaptable approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.